Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Beauty Authority. I'm Tatiana Bido, Director of Aesthetic Content. And today I have with me Tracy Anderson, celebrity fitness trainer who has built an empire on doing things differently and getting results that speak for themselves. And today she's going to talk about GLP-1s and how they're shifting the conversation in fitness. How are you, Tracy?
I'm good. How are you? I just got done teaching.
Wonderful. I'm so grateful to have you on, and everybody knows you. You're a celebrity trainer who's been around for so long. And right now, we're going through such a shift with GLP-1s, and you've worked with so many thousands of people. How is it affecting your classes in your industry right now?
Well, first of all, I have been super blessed to have a lot of very influential people participate in the movement that I create. I haven't trained people one on one for many, many years because I'm really dedicated to research, and they all know that and respect it and champion it so much. So throughout my career, I have had the pleasure of like going in myself to very specific celebrities that were lifting very big projects and needed their bodies a lot. Then I would go in personally and help with that, but I'm not a celebrity trainer. So like I really like my life's work is so deeply meaningful to me, and it's really important to me that the public really understand. And look, I fan over so many amazing artists who have huge audiences, but caring what people who get in the room and train a celebrity, caring about moving with people for that reason is really not caring about yourself. So I really care that we shift that narrative because people really need to work on their relationships with their bodies, and that brings us right to this GLP-1 moment, right? Because we live in a culture that has, for whatever reason, and I'm still not fully understanding why people do this, but you're a beautiful woman and I'm sure you love many of the people that have moved with me, but are you willing to forsake your relationship with your own body to try and chase their body?
Right. Well, I mean, that's so unattainable for me. So I'm a little older, so I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I have to do what's best for my body with what I have, but I totally understand
Well,
that
first of all,
sense.
you're gorgeous and you look like you're like 25 years old,
Thank
but
you so
but,
much. I'm
but
48.
oh gosh, you look amazing. I'm 51, girl. Let's go. But yeah, no, but my point is that like and a lot of people and a lot of young people now that there've always been fast ways to there've always been drugs to help people lose
Yes.
weight. But now they're packaged as something a little bit more they're packaged kind of longevity like
Or
or
medical, clinical, rather than what we used to see in the past. But I agree. Like, do you remember Fen?
of course. Yeah.
Yes, everybody had to stop immediately because of the cardiovascular risk. So, no, I totally understand. I feel like a lot of us who are in this age group have been on this journey for a long, long time, right?
Yeah,
So,
your number one most important, like I'm not a candidate for a GLP-1. And so first of all, if you're not a candidate for a GLP-1 for true medical reasons, then, don't be part of the experiment.
right, right. No, I agree. I think that's really smart, and it's not for everyone, right? And we've seen people have side effects that are rather serious. So I agree. I think it's just so crazy right now seeing where we're going as a culture.
Yeah, well, weight changes quickly, but structure doesn't. And this is something that people really need to understand. Any practitioner that would prescribe a GLP-1 for someone that is not going to move in their bodies, I really believe that that's, a risk. I think that every practitioner that's going to prescribe a GLP-1 for anybody has to really talk to them about how vital movement becomes even more important if you are going to be on something like that because structure takes a long time to change, and the relationship between your skin and your connective tissue and your fascia and your muscle quality, and there's different kinds of muscle fibers and the way that muscles recruit. And if you are on a GLP-1 and you're just like, oh well, I'm so happy that psychologically and physically this burden of not being able to get the weight off is finally off me. But you need to recognize there's a whole world in there you have to know and you have to tend to.
Yeah. Especially since so many of the demographic going on GLP-1s are women a little bit older, because we're already going to see some of those changes coming with perimenopause and menopause. So strength is so important right now.
Strength is always important, but you are exactly right. You are exactly right. Now, listen, I've been kind of fighting this fight of like, I'm 51, I've gone 8.5 months without a menstrual cycle. So I'm really close to hitting menopause.
Mhm.
I've had no spotting. I haven't gained weight anywhere. In fact, I like literally had a burrito last night and like 3 snickerdoodle cookies. It's like I don't have to, but I used to have to really watch the way that I ate. But because I've kept this really, really, really tight and true relationship with my body over the years, as this new study just proved, consistency is the most important thing, because that compounding relationship with your body begins to trust you. It knows you're going to use that energy. It knows it can function well. And your metabolism, the health of your metabolism relies a lot on how you interact with your muscles. And if you're not engaging with your muscles, and if you're not solving problems, and if you're just living a world that's top down, you are going to struggle through everything: puberty, pregnancy, post pregnancy, perimenopause, menopause, end of life. You're going to struggle the whole spectrum if you
Mm.
don't keep a tight relationship with your body.
Yeah,
And a lot of times, people want to point to things. They want to say, this is because of this, or this is because of this, or this is because of this.
right.
And first of all, you don't need an excuse for if your body is signaling something to you, like it's gaining weight or something like that. You don't need an excuse. And that's what this whole culture of making us feel like we have to look a certain way
Yeah.
to be beautiful is so, and it's so traumatic for us as women, you
Well,
know?
if you don't have the fitness side, what we're seeing is this massive amount of muscle loss and skinny, but not necessarily fit or toned, which is not healthy. So, skinny doesn't equal healthy. So, what do you recommend for someone who is on this journey and they're struggling and they're tired because of the medication, and doing, they're not, doing the other part of it?
Hmm. Wow. Well, first of all, I think there's this amazing late poet, John O'Donohue, who said that beauty is not the same as glamour. And I think that a lot of us are chasing glamour in the name of beauty and not realizing the distinction between the two. And it's so, so, so important to understand that beauty, first of all, comes, I think it seeds from self-love and your ability to love yourself, and your courage to know yourself. And I think that a lot of people turn to a lot of things because they're uncomfortable with themselves and they think they need to look like something else because of these weird expectations. So first of all, people need to just dismantle that false narrative inside of them that they're not enough, first of all, right out of the gate. And then they need to really reflect on what longevity means too, because we're confused there as well. Does longevity mean us at, in our late 40s or early 50s looking like we looked at 25? Is that what longevity is? Or is longevity the ability to live as long and as healthful as we can on this planet? Because those are also two totally different things, right? So if the goal for me, like, yeah, I want to look great and I also want to feel great and I also don't want to harm my nature, right? So when we're talking about our muscles with this, when we're talking about our muscles, period, even if you want to talk about your face and not needing a facelift, your facial muscles and your ability to hold up your face structure and your neck structure comes a lot from how you move in your pelvis, what your mobility is like, what all that whole track is, and how it's related. Everything is connected, and your body is made up of different muscle fibers that do very different jobs. So some are endurance, some are for power. And if you don't communicate with them, they're not going to communicate back to you. So if you're on a GLP-1 and you're losing weight, all of a sudden, the same thing is going to happen to you that happened to people when gastro bypass surgery came along. I had more people in my office than you can imagine that said that their surgeons didn't tell them that they were going to need a full body skin tuck as a whole nother surgery.
Right.
Your skin and your connective tissue and its relationship to the muscle does not handle rapid weight loss well at
Right.
all. So you might feel like you're looking really great in your clothes, and then all of a sudden you're like, what's going on with my skin? Or I've got patches of looking good and patches of not looking good.
Yeah. It's not just in the face, like Ozempic face, like people were saying for a long time. It's everywhere.
Everywhere. So what I have dedicated my career to is creating this huge physical language model that actually keeps everything online and everything connected. But you have to be willing to show up.
Yeah.
You can't be too important and you can't be too scheduled and you can't be too bothered to not show up for your workout. And then now, like, everybody wants these easy workouts.
Mm.
An easy workout is not a 20-minute look at my abs. And then you also have all these people who are, in your face as you're scrolling, who are genetically blessed, who are a totally different age than you, who just look like that going for a walk. And they're telling you to buy into their formula. And if you just do what they do, you're going to look like them.
Right.
All of that is such toxic behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because like this, we didn't have social media, 20 years ago in the same way. We just had maybe Facebook, but now it's like fed to you. And once you like something, it's continuously fed to you over and over again. And it's just, I mean, even I think everybody has a problem separating what they're seeing between what's an ad and what's targeted to you and what is organic content. So the lines are so blurred. I'm so glad you're talking about this.
Yes, they're so blurred, but also the interesting thing, and I can tell you like a little red flag too, is that when people are acting on social media like they've got the best advice for you in a 30 to 90-second clip, I would run,
Yeah.
first of all, because I have to tell you that like something about my path, because I did like a huge study in my early 20s, I study all of the time, is that as soon as you think you know a lot, if you're somebody that has that growth mindset that's always trying to discover, because the body is so complex. You would never put a stake in the ground on social media getting people to change their lives and do things off of like a few seconds of something. It's like you would never be that bold to do that and to kind of rob people and disrupt people's like flow of their day to come into their world. And that's why I struggle with social media so much.
Well, we haven't even touched on AI because now there's like fake influencers that are all fully AI selling you a powder, a drink, this is what my GLP-1, whatever,
And by
smoothie.
the way, a lot of those people are so beautiful. It's like, oh my gosh, I just need to put this away, or I'm just gonna like.
Well, I mean, it's actual AI. So it looks like I'm looking at a trainer and they say, I've had 20 years in the industry and it's not a real person. So it's
Yeah.
getting worse. So what should we, not to minimize it, but and I love this conversation because you're so transparent and so real and no people are afraid to talk about everything so openly right now. If you're not on the bandwagon, you're supposed to just stay,
Never been on the bandwagon. I've always been like, what's that girl doing over there? But it's funny because I've been in it for so long that of course I'm deeply disturbed and offended by the amount of people that mimic my work and won't say my name, but they're just going to take from it. But then on the other hand, I'm like, gosh, my life's work is that meaningful that many people are just moving the way that they made fun of me for so many years ago, moving like. So the best advice that I can give people, honestly, is even if you just turn everything off and are just like literally trying to intuitively feel like what your body wants to move like, you really have to start hearing your body. And that's why everything that I create now, from Heartstone to My Mode to Growth Rings, and actually My Mode was just in an episode of Your Friends and Neighbors. She's like going through perimenopause and she just like was trying to get it done, but she's like, Amanda Pete's just like beautifully rolling around on the floor. But that is perimenopause. Like women need to understand, like you don't have to run to, HRT or GLP-1s because you're like, oh God, I don't feel like myself today. If nature really doesn't mess up. Sometimes it's not as strong. Sometimes there are weaknesses, or sometimes, but that's all the more reason to why we have to be able to show up really when we can show up. And then for the days that you're just like, you want to roll around on the floor next to your my mode, that's okay. As long as most of the time you're actually doing the my mode. So, so you do have to move in these exploratory dynamic ways because you want to recruit as much activity as you possibly can in your body. Okay. So it's not enough to just go, oh, I'm just going to lift. I'm just going to recruit. I'm going to build muscle. Like, because things atrophy and you want to keep as much awake and as much alert as you possibly can. You want to keep that really close relationship to yourself. So that's why every single week I'm so dedicated to creating the new choreography that goes into all of the buckets that we do at Tracy Anderson, because people have to keep learning and I just keep studying. So, what we think a perimenopausal or menopausal woman um, looks like has to look like that. Like they haven't, that hasn't seen me yet. Right. Like, and so that's why I'm kind of like, I talk to my doctors all the time and I'm like, some of them are like, you should go on HRT. And some of them are like, don't you dare. You're going through it great. Do I feel differences? Of course I feel differences, but I feel great. I don't feel bad. I feel a little different, but I don't feel bad. Weight changes where it gets distributed during menopause. That's why a lot of women, it will go to their stomachs because they never got that structure designed for them over the years. But I can tell you, like for me, it's not going there. It's not being redistributed.
Yeah.
I look the same that I did when I was 35, except for I actually feel like I look better. It's just that I was in the sun too much.
Yeah.
And of
I
course,
feel
I'm getting wrinkles, but I don't have any injectables in. I'm not saying they're bad. It's just
right.
that I'm not saying any of these things are bad. It's just that you have to know what you're doing with a conscious mind. You have to really know what and why you're doing it. And you can't put your relationship with yourself last.
Yeah. And there's ways to sort of tweak have tweakments that are more healthy and balanced, and we don't all have to rush to get cosmetic.
No, I want to try that Zerf laser. Have you heard of
You
it?
know what? I'm going to try it. So
I'm gonna
I have
try
heard
it.
of it. Yes.
Okay, my friend Dr. Jason Bloom, he's a really talented facial plastic surgeon. He's a friend of mine. I always joke with him one day, I'm like, I'm coming for you one day. And he's like, you don't need it. You don't need it. He's like so
It
sweet.
just
But he told me to come in for Zerf.
it was just named a New Beauty Award winner. So I haven't tried it yet. And a lot of our doctors have told me about it. So I'm really excited to give it a shot.
Yeah, but just try little things. But if you're eating well, please, please. And eating well really doesn't mean what you see on TikTok or on Instagram. So
Yeah.
please don't fall prey to some hot girl in a bikini eating a stick of butter and like a leg off of an animal. Like, please, like, come on. Yeah.
And so for anyone who can't get to one of your locations, you do have online classes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is something
And
even
we have a new thing that I just launched. It's only $9.99. It's called A4 because I have the most amazing group of trainers right now. And so I launched this program with them so that people could have like the real legitimate from the source. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
so it's a really cool program. And the first 7 days just walks you through like where you really start to understand your body a bit more. And then, of course, the hope is that you get into the online studio with me in class every week. But yeah.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, and that's such a great, removing a barrier if you can do it in your house. So, and a lot of people want that access. So it's available online. You have so many virtual classes online and like you said, live experiences. So for anyone interested, this is a really good way to keep your muscles or regain muscle if you are on a GLP-1 or if you're experiencing like me changes with perimenopause and menopause.
And you don't want to get injured. So the worst thing is if you're not coordinated and you don't know how to weight transfer, please don't just go running and lifting weights. And I have weights in my program. I have growth rings. I have a whole entire weight thing, but we don't lift the same way that people do in the gyms.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tracy. I really appreciate your time and
You
your
have to
insight.
come in.
I'm coming in. I'm coming to the Miami location as soon as I can.
Great. We'll definitely host you.
And
It's a
then I
great
will
location.
and you can tell me everything I'm doing wrong.
No, 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 no. No, definitely. We'll just
We'll
you'll
take it
feel the
slow.
difference.
We'll
You'll
take it
feel
slow.
okay. You're
Thank
amazing.
you so much. Thank you for everything and talk soon. Thank you, Tracy.